have to count down anymore.
Yeah, I don't know. I like fucking up the countdowns.
Yeah. So I'm going to start this off and be real with you guys. I couldn't make it through Nosferatu.
I'm gonna be also real with you, and also perhaps have my goth card revoked. I watched Nosferatu on 2x speed and still skipped through parts of it.
Yeah, no, I've seen it before. Long.
I have not.
But,
I haven't actually watched the whole thing. Obviously, like I've seen a lot of it. I've seen all the key parts of it.
I think all of us have seen a lot of it at this point.
Yeah, it's one of those things. It's been around since 1922. So, but also,
it's the most iconic.
Yeah,
right.
I would argue that Orlok visually is more iconic than Dracula because he's so fucking alien.
Yeah,
but I would also like to add a caveat to me having watched it in this way, as I had to watch it today before the podcast and Horror of Dracula, and I'm just not in a silent movie mood right now. So if I was in a silent movie mood, I could probably dig it, because I was digging on it at first, and then we were like, we got to record today, and I was like, oh shit.
You do have to be in the mood, and I feel like it's what you've been consuming a lot of lately. That also could play a role in that. That's another huge
part of it, is that I watched Voyage of the Demeter first, and that was a fucking mistake. Yeah. Because neither of these movies, like, we'll get to it. I have issues with Demeter, as I'm sure we all do. However, it's still a better movie than both of those, just because it's newer and it's had the benefit of all these fucking years to like build its story.
Right. Yeah.
Well, it's standing on the shoulders of Horror of Dracula and Nosferatu.
Focusing in on the one point that no one really has. And I think that's why it's as good as it is.
Right. Yeah, it's got a good setup. It's already, the setup for it is already pre-made.
The concept is fucking awesome.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, that is very.
That's the one thing that I've always kind of wanted to see, because these movies made me realize that my favorite Dracula movie is Bram Stoker's Dracula, because it's all of these movies taken and put into one and like refined and elevated to the maximum that you could. And like, so much of the stuff that I want from a vampire movie, they just couldn't fucking do.
Yeah. You're not going to get that out of 1958 Hammer horror.
And you're especially not going to get it out of 1922 silent film.
No. Now, that's with that being said, is like Nosferatu, even for 1922, had more. It has more vibe and art and atmosphere and look and terror and all of those elements than Horror Dracula does. I would say it has all of those things more than regular Dracula. More than Universal Dracula. Oh yeah.
Well,
like it, but
100%. Well, that's all you have back then. That's what you had to capture. I think that's the
thing, is that Universal Dracula has more charm because Bela Lugosi.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Like he cared. Less happens in Universal Dracula than in Nosferatu, but Universal Dracula is technically a better movie. But
I love that movie. Yeah, I mean,
because it's a good, like, it's not just random like weird shots of shit, because it's a silent movie. So what do we do? Like, here's a cat.
Well, the other thing is like, the other thing with Nosferatu is like, dude, the music is constant. It was non-fucking.
Well, it depends on the version you're watching too.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So if you watched it on Prime, which is probably where because that's where so the first one I watched was black and white, and the music was definitely different than the one I watched on Prime last night, which had a weird colorized.
Yeah, I think because I acquired mine, and I'm impressed with how good it looked, like the crispness of it.
Yeah,
dude, how did they film it that well? in 1920 fucking 2.
Yeah, I don't know. Well, it's
the only thing I can come up with is like, I mean, Germany's where Hasselblad came from, and that's like the most sought after camera in the world. So maybe that they just had really good cameras.
Get this. To piggyback off of what you're saying, I found this thing on a fact that was in a Letterboxd review that said this was the only film that this company made because the film declared bankruptcy after the Stoker's estate sued for copyright infringement and won. The court ordered all existing prints of Nosferatu burned, but one purported print of the film had already been distributed around the world. This print was duplicated over the years, kept alive by a cult following, making it an example of an early cult film. So this film would not exist had that one print not been distributed.
Right? Isn't that crazy?
Yeah. Which is
that almost goes even more to what I was saying is like, and how insane that this is the one, like, dude, it looks better than some Universal horror movies that came out significantly afterwards. And it's like, how is it so crisp? It's crazy. It's crazy. But anyways.
But his design of Dracula is so much more terrifying than anything that came out within the realm of Dracula until Gary Oldman Dracula.
100%.
Well, it's the way that that actor Schreck,
Max Schreck,
Max Schreck.
Name, but
what a
Max
good
Schreck,
fucking name too.
The way he, it's perfect.
He's like an Iron Man villain.
Yeah,
you know, he's Max a Marvel villain for sure.
Count Orlok.
Yeah, but the way he plays him, especially for 1922 in the silent film era, where everything is so over exaggerated, way overacted, and that's how every other actor in that movie is performing. They're very like, yeah. But he's so like slow and these subtle movements, which I don't think is a very common thing back then. So I don't know if that was like intentionally done or that was just him. But all the other actors are just very grandiose, right? And they're performing like they're doing a play because that's what actors did back then.
And wasn't Matt Schreck he not an actor? Like he just.
Oh, I
want to say that I may be. Also, I want to watch the 77 version now and see like how that one is. But I may be getting.
Well, it's Herzog.
Like
it's gonna be interesting no matter what.
I may be getting this from Shadow of the Vampire, which is the movie about making Nosferatu, but that he found the actor like just was like, you look fucking terrifying.
Right.
Well, if you look at a picture of him, he kind of looks like a normal dude, and just the way that they were able to whatever they did for the makeup and the crazy hook nose and obviously the hands, those are like the main feature on that guy. That's just so like, I don't know, it stands out so much every time you see him. And there's shots, like even the shadow shots of him going up the stairs and approaching the door, and you see like the fingers getting longer and longer with the shadow. Like they knew what they were doing, and that's why I love watching this type of stuff.
For sure. It's so
and you do have to be in a mood for it, obviously, because we're now so like conditioned to watch things that are way more stimulating, and that's not going to be the case when you're watching this. But it's such a time machine, and it's so, I don't know, I get so impressed by like, man, like they didn't have other things to reference.
Right.
Like they just fucking made something where they don't really have shoulders to stand on.
It's the peak of creativity, because the only thing that they have to go off of is wow. And there's a point that I'm going to make later that interesting connection there. But they made something with the only thing to go off of is the book. So it's just their imaginations.
Right.
So that's like the peak of creativity, which then also I was going to bring up that this movie is essentially like one of those The Asylum films, but in the 20s. Because the book came out and they were like, we need to make this. But it's not the official version.
Oh, yeah.
It's technically a bootleg.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
for sure.
It's funny that they even in one of the title cards in the beginning says based off of where it's like you fucked up on that. Like that's
I don't know.
Like,
I don't think they ever would have figured it out either. Because I mean, it's Jonathan Hutter, not Jonathan Harker.
Right.
So obviously different.
If you change this guy's name, like, it's totally fine. Yeah, but his name's Dracula.
Funny to just
but John's name is different.
Yeah. But it did. So I've never read the novel, so I don't know.
It is a novel.
I've got it. I've got it right there.
Yeah.
With that one is there's been some cool prints of it. It's
but
the book.
Yeah,
the cool prints of them always kind of are better than the story.
Yeah.
Well, one thing I was reading that I thought was interesting is so the movie Nosferatu actually invented the concept of Dracula or vampires dying when exposed to sunlight.
Oh,
that in the like that's where it's first.
Man,
really?
They invented that. Where in the novel it weakens him, but he's walking around in daylight.
Yeah.
But
I will say that kind of sucks because that is the lamest vampire death I've ever seen. Like, it hits him and he disappears.
1922. So what do you want him to do?
Light a fire under the camera and make him turn into stone. Something, man.
Right.
Not literally turn around, go, and then disappear. Like Back to the Future photograph disappear.
Christopher Lee's death and horror of Dracula is much grosser.
That was awesome.
Grosser.
It's a lot better than the fucking Satanic Rites of Dracula death by Thornbush.
Right. No, I think that's Prince of Darkness. No. Maybe it is a Satanic Rites.
I know, because that was the one I was most looking forward to watching, and I was like, motherfucker.
Yeah.
There's
Thornbush.
no Satanic Rites.
Yeah, Prince of Dracula. Yeah, I think Prince of Dracula. He gets that's the one where he falls underneath the ice.
That's right. Yeah.
That's right. Yeah. Anyway,
when I saw the Christopher Lee's death in Horror of Dracula, I was curious. I'm like, all right, who did the special effects? And what
good
else
question.
Did he do?
I don't know shit about hammer effects.
So, it was a guy named Les Bowie, and he did special effects on 2001 Space Odyssey, which I thought that's pretty fucking awesome resume there to have that.
2001 is a really hard watch for me, but it is undeniably beautiful in every fucking aspect.
I love that movie.
Yeah.
I love that movie.
Yeah.
But exactly. In terms of cinematography and fucking
just
Kubrick
the rotating room scene. It's
nuts.
In the 70s, crazy.
Yeah.
60s?
Or 60s.
Jesus Christ.
That's 68, I think.
68,
it's
68.
It's like a year before. A year before the moon landing.
Right.
It's fucking nuts.
Crazy. It's crazy he had that much time to film it. That's insane.
Right.
Yeah. Right.
But yeah, Nosferatu was the music. Just that's crazy that there's different versions though. I didn't know that. Because the one that I got was like non-stop music.
Because now that you say it, I actually remember one of the first times I tried to sit and watch it. It was a black and white version, and I'm like, man, now that you said that, I'm like, I really wish I'd watched that one. I want to see what was actually the fucking 1922 movie. Because like, I'm sure that they added the pages and stuff too, right? The diary.
Because in the text, some of it's definitely,
or at least the pictures of it that they used. They look new.
Because I've seen different clips. So the one I watched last night on Prime, I didn't like it as much. It's colorized in a way, which is bizarre. Like it removes some of the creepiness for me.
But at first, for a while, I didn't even notice it, which is, I guess, is kind of cool that they managed to do it as good as they did, because usually when they do that I'm like, I hate this. But for a while I was like, I
don't know how they did it and when they did it.
It's
I wonder when
newer. It's just a newer thing that they did because I think what happened was people were complaining about everything being black and white for a while, and like newer people, like younger people are getting like, oh, I don't want to watch it because it's black and white. So they were like, we're gonna colorize these silent films.
Sure, yeah. Well, it's you have the technology to do it. Go back and whenever that was done.
That's fine, but also I feel like I don't know. I watch a lot of art restoration YouTube videos and stuff, and there's one thing that they're always like is like you don't want to you don't want to change what the artist intended. Like I don't think that they didn't make those movies with the intention of them being colorized. So like you said, it takes away from the spookiness of it.
Yeah, and it's not even intention. It's just they didn't have the ability.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Probably. I'm sure to them thinking of, oh, this is going to be.
I'm sure if they could have done it, they would have done it. But also, they didn't do it. So that's not they made their art within their boundaries. And then somebody coming along 100 years later and be like, you know what? It should be purple in this scene. Well, I was when I was on Letterboxd going down reviews for Horror of Dracula, going back to the book, because you said you haven't read it. A lot of people were complaining about, it's a Dracula movie, but it's so light on the Dracula. Yeah,
and I want to be like, I want to comment to everybody, like, boy, do I have a book for you
called Dracula.
Like, it's just, reading the novel, he's hardly in it.
What sucks is
he's hardly in it.
Honestly, Horror Dracula, it started out and I was totally in. I was like, this is cool. Like, Harker's not, like, he's a librarian, but oh no, he's not a fucking librarian. He's actually there to kill Dracula. And then he totally fucks that up. Like, bro, first off, why would you not kill Dracula? They're both laying in coffins, dead asleep, and you go for the weak underling? He's right there. You could have handled it. She's gonna fucking scream. You're stabbing her in the heart with a stake. But anyways, but that whole opening, I was like, oh, this is cool. This is like, they just cut straight to the fucking carriage dropped me off because they're not fucking around with this place. I am at Castle Dracula. It doesn't take 20 minutes to set up. It's just, I am at Castle Dracula. Let's go. And I was like, this is good. Yeah. I like this. And then it goes off of Harker, and the rest of the movie is like, Van Helsing is an actual doctor for the movie.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you're a vampire hunter.
Yeah, maybe they just didn't have doctorates in vampire hunters.
Well, that he didn't get a dual doctorate. He just got regular doctorate, and then he could have taken side vampire, but he was like, I'm already good at it.
Right. So, I'm going.
But what he wasn't expecting is you can't be a practicing vampire hunter without a vampire doctorate.
The problem that I had with Horror Dracula was just, and I still I'm so tired.
Yeah, but what did you think about the movie?
I'm struggling to stay awake because it just drained so much out of me because they're so British. They're so British.
I was like, I was fine with it at first, but it just keeps being them fucking talking about shit and being like, I like BBC stuff. I like a lot of fucking I'm an Anglophile of sorts, but bro,
it's like when I say it's so British, no shit, they're British people making the fucking movie. But to you look at, I know we didn't watch Bram Stoker's Dracula, but you look at Gary Oldman Dracula and you look at Nosferatu and you see immediately going back to the vibe of everything, the wardrobe, the just the intent of creating this dark gothic vibe. And even though Horror Dracula, the castle looks cool, the inside of the castle looks the sets look really cool.
It was good.
But the minute that Christopher Lee, as badass as Christopher Lee is, walks up and he's like, "I'm Dracula."
Well, and here's Here's the thing: is I will say I watched Horror Dracula after Nosferatu, so as soon as he opened his mouth, I was relieved because I was like, "This is what Nosferatu was missing is charm. There's no fucking charm to Nosferatu."
But see, I don't see charm at all. I love Christopher Lee. Like, funny, I like going through the Letterboxd reviews. Everybody was like, was mentioning like eroticism and like, oh, this is so erotic and blah blah. Christopher, this is the most erotic Dracula movie out there. And I put I don't see any. One of my notes was I'm 30 minutes into this movie and I don't see any eroticism.
That's a fucking.
And then I put edit. Because I said, oh, the scene where he walks into Lucy's room, there it is. So like moments like that, like I was like, okay, I get what you guys are saying. However, at no point did it really feel that like overpowering as much as so many people refer to his performance as Dracula.
You know what's interesting is that made me think about the fact that I've always heard that the Hammer movies are erotic. They're like there's an eroticism to them and they're sexy and like look, the Hammer horror actresses, stunning. Every single fucking that was the one thing that they absolutely like, and not just that they're like attractive, but like they're attractive in theme with the movie. It's not just like, it's Jennifer Lopez and she's hot and Anaconda. Like it's like she looks like a fucking vampire. You know what I mean? Like it works and it makes sense. But I've never been like, other than Twins of Evil. Twins of Evil is pretty sexy. But other than that one,
that feels like that feels like that when they made the intent of, and I think like that hardcore like focusing.
Funny
on
enough,
that.
I think that's the best Hammer movie I've seen so far. Because I think it's just better made. Weirdly.
Yeah. But you're also jumping up almost like 15.
Yeah.
Or
I think so. Exactly. Yeah, I think so.
But that's the thing. I think those comments of like eroticism, it's within context of the 50s. Right. Like it's not going to be and again, movies from the 70s, you're going to have an eroticism that's just going to be exponentially much higher, just due to especially us watching it in 2024. Just viewing it through that lens. But I mean, there definitely is I could understand where that's coming from. But again, we're viewing it from today's lens of like eroticism today is fucking Pornhub like every day for everybody. It's like we're very desensitized. Back then,
I want to be clear in that I'm not like, oh, it needs to have like titties everywhere. Like I'm not really that guy. But like sexy and like, to me, Colin Farrell in Fright Night is more erotic than Christopher Lee.
Yeah.
And I like Christopher Lee. I don't like him as... I wish that he wasn't the Dracula in every Hammer movie, though. Almost every Hammer movie. Because he's fine.
Yeah.
I read something about that. But,
It was interesting. Apparently he didn't want to be, but there was something about... like he knew it was keeping a lot of these people employed, the cast and crew.
Oh, wow.
And it was, and he's, I saw that somewhere. I forget exactly where it was. I don't have a note of it, but it's coming back to me now. But he said something along those lines of, he wanted to do 1 or 2 and be done with it. And he ended up doing 7 for Hammer movies. And then he did Dracula and several other movies outside of Hammer Productions. Mm-hmm. Including Frankenweenie.
Yes.
He plays Dracula in the movie when they're watching Dracula.
Hell yeah.
I love
Frankenweenie's the best.
It's awesome.
That's really funny.
But I haven't seen any other Hammer film.
I've seen a few of them.
So I think I differ from you guys a lot in this aspect, which hopefully makes for some, I don't know, a different angle where because I do enjoy this era of film. I just always think there's like this interesting aesthetic vibe, pacing that's just so different from movies today. Mm-hmm. And I do have a deep appreciation for that. And maybe I don't know. Like I had none of that in my childhood. I was just watching movies from the 80s and 90s,
same here,
which I still really love. Yeah. But just having dove into movies from the 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, way much more now for the last 5 years, I'd say. Mm-hmm. I don't know. It's just time machine for me that is watching things that are so vastly different from anything I've ever really watched before. So yeah, I mean, I think,
I think for me, it's got to have that. I keep going back to set and setting ever since you mentioned that in the first episode that we recorded. Yeah. Now I always 100%. Think about that. And like halfway through Horror Dracula, I was like, okay, I can recognize that, this is iconic and legendary for what it is. But I feel, and I've watched a lot of Hammer horror, like Plague of Zombies and bunch of movies. Scott, whenever we were in high school, our buddy Scott just fed me just tape after tape after tape after tape.
Well, that's the other thing. That's the other thing is that is not like. That was not like a fun experience.
That was not a good
because you weren't like, oh, I love all these movies.
I was like,
you were like,
yeah. I was
like, you're like that kid that got really, really sick off vodka when he was like 13.
Right. You watch,
and now like in his 40s,
one horror movie, and Scott was like, now you got to eat the whole fucking pack.
Right, but like I was like, I want more, Evil Dead. Yeah. I want more Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Yeah. I want more that kind of stuff. And it's like, here's the whole Hammer horror collection. And I'm like,
which is vastly it's so
not
different.
Visceral enough.
But
not for me.
I can still respect it and blah, blah, blah. But I kept thinking about, okay, what I'm sitting in my chair, I'm watching it. It's in like the middle of the day. And I'm like, what do I need to change in order to like this movie more? And it's like, it kind of,
that's such a funny thing to ask yourself.
Yeah. And like, it's like I'm not saying for everybody, because there's a lot of people who can enjoy Hammer horror, but for me, it's like, dude, I think I need like a rainy day or at night and a fucking fireplace. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Like just that kind of vibe, sense. Because that type of gothic, what they were going for with that style, like that is the right environment in order to really
and
watch.
What I've always heard was it's always people who were in like bigger cities that had horror show, like horror host shows and like Saturday horror movies and stuff like that, and they either grew up watching them on those because also in New York there was a lot of Hammer stuff just because of we did the whole Night of the Living Dead thing. And like, so like there was a lot of access to Hammer horror in New York and stuff. And also it was teenagers getting stoned at home and watching fucking Saturday horror movies. And that's the thing is like in the 70s. So it's like which I can get stoned and watch it, but I'm not in the 70s.
we missed the boat on that. And I think there's something in me that like, I don't know if the right word is desire to have had that.
I'm the same way. Like
there's a bit of that
so fucking hard. I want to recapture that 70s horror vibe so much. And I mean, I found a ton of great stuff from it for sure. There's definitely stuff that like hits that nerve, but Hammer's the one thing that I've always been like, there's something here that it will click at some point, and it just never fucking has.
Right. Yeah, I do look forward to watching some more of it. Again, this is the only one I've seen.
I'd really like to go through the rest of them if Justin can bear it.
Yeah.
Like, I'd like to,
I'll watch all of it.
Throw one, maybe not every episode, but like we'll throw in throw in the next Hammer Dracula as we go forward.
Every movie, Jess is like, what do I have to do in my room to make this better?
Maybe if I set my house on fire, maybe then it'll click.
Is there a poster I could put up?
You know what you need? You need a lot more fresh blood strewn around your room.
Yeah. Put me in a coffin.
You know what? That's a good idea. We'll move the nice comfy chair out, and we'll put in a coffin. And we'll spread spray blood all over your walls, and then you can fucking do the crossed arms thing in the coffin, and I'll come in because you don't want to move. You gotta your method. You gotta stay like that. So I'll come in and then I'll hit play.
Just throw dirt at me the whole time.
Yeah. There's that one shot in Horror Dracula where she's in the grave and it cuts, but man, it looks like he threw it straight on her fucking face.
Yeah.
I was like, that's rude, man. She just opened her eyes, bro. Chill.
Yeah.
Dracula's a dick.
Yeah. Have you guys seen the Cabinet of Dr. Caligari?
Yeah, I haven't. I will admit I haven't watched the whole thing, but I've watched a good portion of it, and I really like what I've seen. Just because it's so like fucking abstract and like the beginning of it's real fucking slow though. It really takes a while. The last time I watched it because I was trying to I've been researching the history of horror and all that shit, and like. I tried to watch it and I was like, I don't remember this entire opening park scene at all. So whatever version I watched, it like immediately cut to him with the fucking cabinet. And I was like, oh, cool. This is great. And then I watched it recently and I was like, man, this is a lot to get. It's a trip.
That movie's it's the whole set is it's impressive what they did.
German abstractionism, man. It's fucking crazy.
Yeah. Yeah.
See, I don't know if I could watch it. I mean, of course I can watch it, but
I think if you can get to the cabinet,
there's something about. There's something.
I think it's better than Nosferatu. In my opinion,
I would agree with that.
Yeah. There's just something about that film making, that aspect of filmmaking, that style that just creeps me the fuck out.
Is it the fucking like jerkiness?
It's that. It's everybody's. Like what you were talking about earlier, Derek. Both of you guys. You were talking about how Max Schreck was so reserved and like closed, kind of like reclusive in his own body. You know, like to how he was playing Dracula, whereas everybody else is so explosive in their movements. We're like the opening scene, one of the opening scenes where I guess it's John, where he comes in and he meets he comes into the room where his wife is or his girlfriend. And it's like the camera's just hovering on him and he like has this long shot of just this expression of happiness. And it's supposed to be happiness, but I'm looking at it and I'm like, he looks absolutely fucking crazy.
Yeah.
And it's like, I don't know if it's the dark eye makeup,
the weird hair,
just the direction.
The fucking,
and,
dude, he's got the He Who Laughs smile.
And it's like that. And I understand, like, they're probably, I mean, they're back then, like, every film that was made back then was an experimental journey of how do you make a movie. So I don't know. I don't necessarily, I could understand them going like, let's hold on this shot and make you do that for a good 10 seconds.
Right. Yeah.
You know, because they don't know any better. Or
and also, as I'm sitting here thinking about it, it's also like they're so exaggerated. But if you like think about it, if we had seen this in 1922, we wouldn't see all that detail. So had like the projection, like this looks incredible. This one, I was super impressed with it. I can't go on enough about it because I've recently watched a bunch of silent film stuff and none of it looks that good. And I'm like, that's insane.
That's crazy.
Like you could see the fibers on the rope. That's like 4K 1080 shit. And like I was like, that's crazy. But you wouldn't see all that because the projection, just the projection, like what are you going to project it on? What are you going to project it with? And like you're going to lose all that. So that's why they're so like exaggerated, but it makes it really uneasy to watch now.
Yeah. And when you think about it, I mean, Dracula, you know, Bela Lugosi Dracula came out in what, 32? 31. So
I think so.
Less than 10 years filmmaking took that big of a leap. From that type of directing and experimental, stuff to more of along the lines of what a modern movie is. So it's pretty bizarre to really think about, but the result of that is, dude, like that is some of the creepiest shit that you can, or that affects me. Like I could watch gore and all that stuff, and that doesn't bother me. But you put on a fucking silent film from that, I don't know, I don't like it.
Unless it has constant pounding music.
Yeah. Dude, that music was causing my anxiety to just fucking skyrocket.
Honestly, I'm gonna go find an OG version of it because now I really want to see it because I can imagine cool. Like. It might not have the reel to reel sound, the tick, but like that would be dope. Even like you just have that going along with it, and then it has whatever the old school, like I'm assuming an organ score is.
Yeah, you know, I saw somebody on Letterboxd saying they watched a version of it like live with an orchestra playing the music.
They were just doing that this past October at the Alamo Drafthouse.
See, I would go watch that shit. Yeah,
tickets were announced at the Alamo Drafthouse. Tickets were announced maybe 2 months prior, and it was all sold out really quick. And it was they only did it one night. I was so bummed about that. They used to. That's one thing I really miss about living in LA is shit like that, where they would do that at the Hollywood Bowl a lot. I'd go see John Williams, so we went to go watch Jaws live at the Hollywood Bowl with John Williams and the orchestra playing the music throughout the movie. It was awesome. So, you know, living in Raleigh, I'm not going to have access to stuff like that. But they did have Nosferatu playing at the Alamo Drafthouse with a live orchestra, which I'm wondering how many people were
that can't have
movie theater to play.
Yeah, that can't be that big.
It's not going to be like a 60-piece orchestra, obviously, but that would be awesome. I'd love
one of the bummers. One of the bummers I found out about doing this is that I was always under the impression that there was a version of Nosferatu where Typo Negative did the soundtrack to it, and apparently not.
I thought that was
apparently not. The only thing that I could find was there's a documentary which I watched the beginning of it, but then I didn't watch the rest of it yet. And it's fucking I forgot his name. No, Kung Fu. Yes, David Carradine is the host of it.
Really?
Wait, seriously?
It's on YouTube.
Oh, I thought you I had no idea that's what you were legitimately referencing the 1970s TV show of Kung Fu. I thought you just said Kung Fu.
But yeah, so it's I don't know if I think it's the actual movie, but it has like an intro with David Carradine, and then apparently like there's some soundtrack music in this documentary from Typo Negative.
Interesting.
That's
weird. I remember there being a Nosferatu. If there's a listener out there,
somebody even mentioned it on Letterboxd saying like Typo Negative did a better version.
All right, I'm gonna have to fucking track it down then because I don't know. Maybe I just didn't watch enough of it. Because I was getting the impression it was like a documentary.
See, that's eroticism.
David Carradine?
Talk about eroticism. No. Yes. No. Only in the show Kung Fu. But no.
Well, I mean, to be fair, he's automatically erotic.
Yeah. So here's a question, going back to Horror of Dracula. So let me get this straight. So Jonathan Harker goes to Castle Dracula. He's a spy. His whole purpose is I'm going to kill Dracula.
He's
right. It's mission. He's going to
be a librarian for Dracula.
But he's going to be a librarian. So what the fuck was that job ad? You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, so that means Dracula is like in his castle, and he's like, I got so many fucking books. I need somebody to organize this shit.
How long has he been around?
What to do?
Well, so maybe he's been collecting a lot of books.
Well, no. That's fine. But at the same time, it's like, bro, you have all the time in the world to organize your own
but maybe
books.
he doesn't want to go. He doesn't want to do all this. He doesn't want to write down all the shit. He doesn't want to do the cataloging part.
But and I could understand that. I probably wouldn't want to either.
He's got decimal system to do.
Right. He's got Dracula shit to do. But so did he write the job ad? I want to see that scene of him putting together the job ad and like, okay, I need to hire a fucking librarian.
Hey, Dracula. Count Dracula of, I forgot what the name of the town was. Count Dracula.
No, it's Hammer Horror.
Count Dracula of Hammer
so it's
Horror.
It's going to be like, I got too many books.
Too many books.
I got too many books.
Hello.
I got too many fucking books.
Too many books.
This is shit. I need a fucking librarian over here. We need to go hire somebody ASAP.
Your Christopher Lee is
the chick,
spot on.
Yeah, and then the chick, the chick was like, help me. Like then she's like, I don't want to fucking go and just put the fucking thing in. And he's just like, we need a fucking librarian. And like, I want to see that.
You know what? I'm pretty sure you just laid it out. Let's do it.
That would never work.
What, being a librarian?
No.
I feel like that's a little harsh to librarians.
That in this day and age, probably not, unfortunately.
Right.
But also, was he trying to lure victims in? Was he using the job ad to lure victims in as well?
That you know what? That makes a lot of sense.
It's possible.
That would definitely not.
What do you mean? Oh, now I mean I don't know, man. Craigslist.
Yeah, now
pretty,
no.
Craigslist
I went on
pretty
this.
Much
I went on
just
this
a bunch
job
of Draculas
interview
trying to lure people from the houses.
Yeah, it's been going on for the last 25 years.
Yeah. Find My iPhone is going to expose an underground network of vampires.
I mean, you never know.
Yeah.
It is Florida.
Yeah. Justin, you said something about those just back then, those shots, the close-ups on the faces that were just like, long and
right.
I always thought those were interesting, especially you see them a lot in Universal monster movies. Mm-hmm. Bela Lugosi, you see that he has those shots that are super close up with just him staring. And there's that one shot that we've all seen so many times referenced in so many different places of Christopher Lee with the bloodshot eyes and the blood and the fangs. Yeah. That shot's fucking awesome.
It's killer.
And you know what's funny is I've always been like, I've never seen that shot before because I haven't watched this one, and I've always been looking for that shot, and I was like, okay, cool, there it fucking is.
Yeah, there it is.
Yeah. I don't know where I've seen it before, but I know I've seen it many times.
It's so good.
Yeah. But they did that a lot in those movies back then, and there's something about it that is nightmarish of just like a close up on a face like that.
Did you guys catch
too much fucking face, man?
A lot of the way too much. But did you guys catch how they try to light Lee? Where it's when you watch him in certain scenes, there's always like not always, but in a lot of scenes, there's like a shadow around his face, and there's like one silver light.
I want to say
that
that's where they got it for Morticia in the '90s Addams Family movies. Right, that's where they got the inspiration from. Yeah. So
I could see that because I caught that like halfway through Horror Dracula. I was like, dude, every his face is like lit, like just across his eyes, and almost like every scene that I see.
Dracula can bend light, but he can't get down a fucking hatch. Bro, that was my big. That was the point where I was like, all right, come on, because like him walking down the stairs, I was like, you got the big cloak, you kind of look like you're floating, fine. But towards the end where he's literally like skittering around the castle trying to like escape, like, you're Dracula!
I was gonna say, one of my notes is through the end of the movie when Van Helsing is chasing him through the castle, and like it's so animated and it's so
dude, it's zany races.
Like you could probably take out the music and substitute it for that. And it would go
somebody do that, please.
Perfect.
If you haven't, if that doesn't already exist.
Yeah, because like somebody said in Letterboxd, it's a Hammer Horror scene where one character is on one end of the screen and the other character's on the other, and they're just constantly chasing. And they're constantly going back and forth.
There was so many moments where like it was. I have a weird thing in movies where like the geography of shots upsets me sometimes when they fuck it up, and like there was so many points in Horror Dracula where like Dracula just fucking leaves a room for no reason and then comes back. Or like he's like they go into like he goes into the fucking the basement where the coffin is, and the coffin's empty, so he puts the cross down, and then suddenly out of nowhere they just showed that he wasn't anywhere near him. Dracula comes back at the door. but then you literally watch him be foot chased through a castle, and you're like, but so he's not supernatural.
Right.
He has more weaknesses in Hammer Horror than he has strengths.
Yeah, that makes sense.
It's like sunlight, garlic, steaks, fucking crosses. Like in Nosferatu, just sunlight.
Right. Which it kind of does look like he is walking around in sunlight, but they don't.
Right.
That's just how they had to shoot it, I guess.
I was definitely like, I mean, I get it. You don't have lights, but man, you're definitely.
Yeah. And he was dressed up, I guess. He was dressed up when he was outside, so he was hiding himself.
That's why he doesn't have hair.
So to jump to Voyage of the Demeter, the ending of that movie, it really upset me just because I know I won't get that movie. The ending of the movie, for anybody not watching it, the sole survivor gets there, lands in London, and then he's in the pub, and Dracula comes in, very Nosferatu-esque, which looked killer.
Demeter,
looked awesome.
He looks great, and I love being able to think of it as like an extension of Nosferatu.
Yeah, for sure. And James and I were talking about this the other night, real quick, where it's like that's the next movie that I want to watch is that guy turning into a vampire hunter and chasing Dracula through.
And because we're almost certainly never gonna get that movie. I hate the ending of it because it should have been dark and bleak as fuck. There should have been no survivors. Yeah. It should have been a truly doomed voyage.
Yeah.
And to
sacrifice
it for a sequel setup that you're not going to fucking get.
That won't work.
I'm assuming that the director, I can't remember his name, but it's, what did you say it was that he had fucking...
it's the same guy.
Andre Orvidal.
Yeah, it's the same guy who did Troll Hunter and Autopsy of Jane Doe.
I'm assuming that the director who did Autopsy of Jane Doe is not fucking happy with that ending.
I could imagine.
Because that seems like a studio note.
Yeah, I would.
Which is interesting because if you're looking at his career, he's gotten bigger and bigger movies. Bigger and bigger productions. This is the biggest one he's done by far.
Excellent. I don't think that him as a director did a fucking thing wrong with this movie. I think that the editing is kind of weird. The pacing is way too quick for a fucking a Voyage at sea doomed ship movie. You got to have some tension.
Yeah.
You got to let some of it breathe.
I wish they didn't lean into the CGI as much as they had, because the makeup was awesome,
really good,
and they didn't need to utilize the CGI for him, and they did at parts where I was like, you didn't need it, because he looked so fucking cool with the makeup, and they just kind of CGI'd it up. I think it's
probably one of those things where, especially for the flying and stuff, they probably just didn't have the time and fucking budget to do it practical. Unfortunately, I also
which again is the other fucking problem. It's like, if you're gonna make it, just fucking make it.
Look at Coppola's Bram Stoker's Dracula. It's all fucking, it's all real, and it all reads, man. I do love that clearly the bat thing from Demeter is absolutely based on the fucking I can't move my arms bat thing from fucking Bram Stoker's Dracula. Right. My favorite vampire form ever. T-Rex bat.
The one where he's the in the bedroom, right? Where they bust in the room and he turns into
and he just goes,
that's
he's He's got his little fucking wings stretched out between his body and his arms.
Yeah, that's like.
I think that's the one that I said would be the best to be a mom.
Right. Yeah, that, and it's like there's that scene where there's that part of that scene where like Anthony Hopkins is holding up the crucifix and he does this stomp. And the whole crucifix lights on, like explodes into flames. So
I will say,
I gotta rewatch that.
Let's do that one for the next one because we just keep talking about it anyways. I'll
bring that movie up like every fucking episode.
I don't even know if we need to do an episode on it because like we will do an episode on it when we can do research and like do a proper like in-depth look at. But because we're just gonna fucking talk about it constantly. So
it's such a good movie.
But fuck, that's the one thing that I will say for Horror of Dracula for sure is I like what's his fucking name? Van Helsing, but what's his name? Peter Cushing. Peter Cushing as Van Helsing is great. I really like him. I think it works really good if they let him fucking hunt fucking vampires. However, Van Helsing in a fucking burgundy velvet suit is the fucking freshest that Van Helsing has ever in time looked. Holy shit.
Right.
What a look.
Yeah.
That's more Dracula than Dracula's outfit.
Right. Yeah. Dracula's outfit in Hammer of Horror is very Spirit Halloween. Yeah. It's
just a cape. Yeah.
It's just a cape. It's like they took when Spirit Halloween goes, hey, we need a Dracula costume. That's
I think what happened was so in Nosferatu, you saw the carriage, how it was like. I want to say I really loved that. The fucking effects that the 1922 quote unquote effects that they did to the carriage, where it was just drape it in black fucking fabric and drape the horses in black fabric so that then we're going to film it stop motion. So it kind of looks like it's floating. Love it. However, I think it was a weird choice for Hammer to be like, let's do that to Dracula.
Yeah. Yeah. But, while I was watching it, I was like, how old are these guys? And Peter Cushing was 45. And Christopher Lee was only 36.
What?
Oh, wow.
Yeah, he was only 36. Really? Yeah.
Wow,
I thought he was
crazy.
In his 40s when he started doing the Hammer Horror.
I'm telling you, man, people just aged faster back then.
Yeah.
For sure.
It's weird.
Yeah. Or we're just like way more immature. No.
Yeah, well, like that's. I was gonna say, maybe
no. We're definitely more mature now. That's what it is.
No, like I was gonna say, maybe that's why I've never felt like an adult because I don't feel like I look like the adults that I saw when I was a kid.
You gotta go out in the sun more and do a lot more cocaine.
Yeah,
that'll age you a bit.
Mm-hmm. Drink, I was gonna say, drink, smoke a lot more cigarettes.
Smoke you know what? The best way to look like Peter Cushing is to smoke cigarettes instead of eating. That's it.
Yeah. But yeah, Voyage of the Demeter I thought was really good in a lot of ways. I think that director really understands how to tap into that older Universal horror vibe. It reminded me, and same thing, I think the remake of The Wolfman with all its flaws, that's another one that really
that one really I still don't love it, but it comes really close to what I want. I will say Demeter.
It's the two. Yeah, it feels like it's a good throwback, and you can feel the influence and vibe, like how it makes you feel while you're going from watching, the Nosferatu or the original Dracula, then to jump into this. You can obviously it's a night and day difference, but you can still feel the through line that he was able to tap into, which is really
I think
cool
it's really clear that he gets it just by the fact that he cast. I can never remember his fucking name, but Davos as the captain and David Dasmalkian, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, as the first mate, because they're fucking perfect. Those two.
Oh, yeah.
Look, this movie would have been okay without them, I guess, but it wouldn't have been as good as it is, and in spite of its flaws. Because they just really, dude, those dudes get it. I mean, obviously, Das Malkian gets it. He's fucking like, he is a horror host.
He's great. Yeah. Derek, what did you say? You sent me a text while you were watching it. Something about the captain's sideburns.
No, his burns.
His burns.
The burns on the side of his head.
When he got burned from his grandson getting lit up from the sun.
Fucked, man.
So I was watching it with Katie, and she goes, "Did the burns just change on the side of his face?"
Did they?
I go, "What?" I rewinded it. Fuck. They're all like on the left side, and then out of nowhere, they're all on his right side, and they look different. And I was like, "What the fuck?"
Oh, that's rough.
You know what's funny?
It's around like an hour and 29 minutes in.
Yeah. You know what's funny is my first note for Horror of Dracula is continuity ? Because in the credits there's somebody's role as just labeled continuity. So,
really?
Yeah. So,
you did job, baby.
Yeah.
We support
I guess that's what happens.
Yeah.
So I guess
one
that's
thing
what
that I thought was interesting. Yeah, right. One thing that I thought was interesting about The Last Voyage is it's really not a Dracula movie. It's a movie about a crew trying to survive from a monster. And then I kept seeing this everywhere, that it was pitched as Alien, but on a boat.
And that's the problem, is that
it's what it is.
I love that. And I love that they almost got it. But the one thing that they are missing to make it Alien is giving time for shit to fucking like be spooky.
Yeah.
It's so like it moves too fucking quick.
And which is weird because it's 2 hours.
Yeah.
And I don't think it needed to be 2 hours.
But if it was gonna be 2 hours, then it should have like maybe I really have a feeling that Justin just fell out of his chair.
I'm sorry. I made the mistake of going on Letterboxd, and this is the first review that I read. Dracula gets a taste of semen.
That's a perfect joke.
Yeah, it is.
It should be the tagline of the movie.
As long as you put an A in there, we're good.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Is that the title of the episode?
Yeah, it should be. I'll say the one thing that bothered me the most about the movie, because there was a lot I did like about it.
Mm-hmm.
What bothered me the most is I just felt like there was a lack of effort to fucking find him.
Yeah.
They're first off, it starts off with the bald guy with the scarred face in the beginning that backs out of the job before the ship sails.
I felt like they could have cut that.
And he's like, that
probably gotten cut.
Well, it's like, hey, that box, fuck that box. It's evil. Yeah. Like, look at that symbol. I know that's fuck that. And then they start experiencing evil and seeing evil, and they don't go fucking get rid of that box.
Right.
And then, like, there's obviously it's in the cargo. There's just no effort into go finding them throughout the day, even though they notice people burning up in daylight and thinking like, hey, like, let's just go look for this guy at night when he fucks us up.
And also, like,
so like there was that bothered me.
It's a boat. Like,
how far do you have to go?
I totally get that it would possibly work, but like, at some point, wouldn't you just run out of places to look for him? And I guess that's the problem, is that they don't really ever go to look for him.
They don't. Right. That's the thing. They don't.
Here's a fucking thought. Here's a thought. Let's dive into Dracula's decision making here for a second. Like, motherfucker, okay, I understand that you're like an immortal being and that you've been around for a couple hundred years, but unless if you know how to pilot a boat by yourself, why are you killing the whole crew? Don't you need them to get you from point A to point B?
he pilots the boat in Nosferatu.
Oh, gotcha. I didn't make that far.
He kills the whole crew.
Sort
in
of
Nosferatu.
pilots the boat. He pilots it with the breath of death.
Right.
The breath of death fills his sails. So they don't.
Exactly.
I kind of really want like a shot of Nosferatu in the Gordon's fisherman fucking outfit, blowing while fucking trying to sail.
I gotta get the goddamn wind.
The sun is coming out.
But yeah, like to sit there for almost 2 hours of watching Dracula, one by one pick off the crew of the people who are responsible for bringing him to land, that's a pretty dumb decision on his part, because okay, what happens if you do succeed and you kill everybody, which is what happened in the book? You're going from Transylvania to fucking London. It's not a quick ride. What happens if you're fucked, because now you're adrift at sea.
To be fair though, he did try to plan for it, because the chick was his like blood bag, but they found her.
Oh, that's right.
She was supposed which they did not show this well enough, but like he was apparently sneaking out, getting into her dirt bed and fucking feeding on her as you do. Yeah. As you do.
But then once she gets caught, he's like, you know what?
That's the thing.
Is I'm just gonna kill all the animals.
He had to, because he needed to feed.
Yeah.
Which is like, and they do kind of say like, oh, he's rationing us. That's what he did. He was.
But then also when he starts doing the blood transfusions, it's like, just get rid of the infection. Let's do blood transfusions. Like,
I gotta.
Not only that, but like, you're getting her infected. She's dirty as fuck. You're putting in IVs in her.
I am so fucking sick of blood transfusions right now, brother. There's been a lot of blood transfusions in my face recently, and I'm like, man, if I gotta see one more motherfucker put a needle in an arm and press a fucking bulb, I'm gonna. Woo.
Yeah. But I that's a I didn't think about that. Even reading in the chapter in the book, it's so, because if I remember correctly, the chapter is the newspaper article covering the arrival of a ghost ship and what the diary says and all this stuff. But when the ship arrives, which I was mad that they didn't have this. They had it for a minute for that one scene, but Dracula like tied the captain to the wheel in like a crucifix form. Yeah. And they had the shot in the movie.
It's not.
But then he turns, but it's like, okay, it's like a little Easter egg thing of like, here we did it, but it's like he's supposed to be dead and like a skeleton essentially, and he's like tied to the fucking thing.
Wasn't there like people hanging from the masts and shit supposed to be? I think it was supposed to be like way more gruesome looking than it ended up in the movie.
I think so. So like, I feel like they could have made that a little bit.
And again, I feel like I feel like he probably wanted to.
Oh, I'm sure.
There's a video I watched. Every time I reference these YouTube videos, I should start taking note of what the YouTube channels are called to give these guys credit.
I'm always like, oh fuck, I just think the same thing.
Yeah, because it was a cool video. It's a cool channel that I hadn't seen before, but he made a point that I thought was a good point, where he said, this is pitched as Alien, but on a ship. It's a great monster. It's a monster movie. But what he didn't like, and what makes it very different from Alien, is, look, the monster is it's primal, and it's just going off instinct and survivalism like it does in Alien, but it also shows its emotion, like it's smiling, and it's taunting, and it's not, you're not being primal now. There's just something there that's kind of, and I could see that. I didn't make that connection while watching it, but it's like, it's kind of, it's true that if it were to remain much more primal throughout, that could have been cool, because it's in a primal stage at that point before, like it needs to feed to become.
But also he is still a count. He is still a dude, and like, I mean, he's got enough money and fucking whatever the fuck to have those fucking boxes. His box that was dope. I'm really into like those crazy old Victorian Italian safes that take fucking an hour to unlock. I love that they were like, let's make his coffin one of those. That's fucking cool. But if he was able to do that, he's got money, so he's got to be some sort of refined. He's just. But I get what you're saying for sure.
Why was he a bat?
What's that?
I mean, I know he can turn it. I know, I mean, I know Dracula can just turn into a bat. You know, he can pull a Laszlo and
bat.
Right.
But why? Like, so I'm Dracula. I'm hanging out in my castle, and I'm like, hey, I gotta go to London. So I'm gonna put myself in a coffin. I'm gonna give me some dirt. I'm gonna get like my food squared away. I'm going to put myself in this coffin. And I'm going to go on a boat. But the whole time I'm on the boat, I'm going to be in bat form. That seems incredibly inconvenient.
Was it by choice, or is it because he's not feeding enough?
That's my question. Is like, why does he got to be in bat form the whole time?
I think it's because he changes throughout because he's feeding more and more, right?
Yeah.
Kind of like in the...
See, I base everything on, again, going back to Gary Oldman Dracula. Dude, like...
Well, he just ages when he's not feeding, right? And that...
I don't know, because like he goes from really, really old, weird hair Dracula.
I have stats.
To then he goes young Dracula. But in between then, but in between all of that, he's got werewolf Dracula. He's got werewolf crossover Dracula, like what we were saying with the wings, where he's like and and then he gets so like he's got a range of monsters that he kind of transforms into.
I have stats, and this may explain it, because he's going from Transylvania to London. That is 2,421.2 kilometers. The average speed of a bat is 15 miles per hour. Right. I think
Really? I feel like bats go faster than that. That's crazy.
I know.
So
bats fucking dart around and shit.
It's true. I put average. I don't know what their average.
Like, I mean, I'm sure, like us driving in a car for 15 miles an hour, like it probably seems really slow. But I'm sure if you got hit, but if you got hit by a car at 15 miles an hour, like
we got hit by a car going 5, and I broke my fucking arm in half.
Right. But that's like faster than that. That's the speed of like of your average, not average, but it's your speed of someone running.
So
15. That's like a full speed, like a sprint.
For 2,400 kilometers, he would probably have to go through day, and that's why he can't.
For sure. Well, that's why he's got to take the boat. And plus, like, he can't. So he's got to take the boat. But why has he got to be a bat while he's going on his boat journey?
Oh, I don't think he was at first. I think that was towards the end, when he had fed on enough people to like regain his powers.
That was the way I got, because that's why when you see him at the end, kind of Nosferatu-esque.
Oh yeah,
he's more human because he's been feeding now. That's the way I interpreted that.
So I guess he started. I'm just a bad Dracula guy. That's what I'm like. Maybe I just am not as well versed on Dracula as
Justin,
I thought
you're
I was.
You're a terrible Dracula guy, man.
So at the beginning of this journey, he's normal, like, right, he's Christopher Lee, right? He goes into the coffin, and then over the course of weeks at sea, then he devolves into bat form, and then he's like,
she says it, in my home country there's no more people left to feed.
I think
that's why he's going
the last
to London.
person that he could feed off of. So he
fucking murked everybody over there.
Which there's, I mean, this is totally coincidental. But I've been watching this role playing channel called Mystery Quest. It's from the Yogscast, and they did a thing. It was a 1-player role playing campaign where it's the dude who runs Mystery Quest and this other guy, and it's called 1,000-Year-Old Vampire. And you take a vampire from, you just pick a time, and then you like live the vampire life through dice rolls and shit. And one of the things that happened in it, which then fed into my imagination on all this shit, is that he ends up during the plague, he goes to a fucking town and just feeds on everyone, and no one catches on because it's the fucking plague.
It's a plague.
Yeah, and like this takes place right around then, yeah. So like maybe
is this it was 13. Yeah. This was 1800s. Plague was 1300s.
Okay. But still,
they were vampires back then.
Oh, they're still scared of the plague, and they talk about it.
So
the rats on the boat. And that was a cool part of that movie where the rats are gone.
That was
like,
fucking great, yeah. And I love the dude who's just sitting there fucking smoking. Like, that's not fucking good.
Not good.
But yeah, awesome. So I think he was probably already kind of like dwindling by the time he got on the boat. She was his like reserve, and I'm sure he was trying to ration her too as long as possible.
Right.
So maybe he was in that like corpsey stage that usually like vampires usually start out in the sequel.
Right.
So and there's a shot. The best thing in the whole fucking movie for me is that fucking part where I don't remember which dude it is. I think it's the dude, the blonde kind of guy, and he sees Nosferatu's head and arm just like under the staircase in the shadow.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Creeped me the fuck out.
Yeah.
And then he just fucking
there was some really solid,
and you're like, oh Jesus,
right?
I think that was like the first.
There was some
like,
good shots
in the movie too. They really like he leaned into the gore and the brutal parts at some points, and I really wonder if there's another version of this where there's a lot more that they didn't cut away from.
Oh, I'm sure.
Because it's really interesting how there's some stuff that's really fucked up, and then some stuff where it's literally just a cutaway and implied.
Yeah.
I just want a fucking vampire movie where there's no talking and it's just vampire killing people. I guess that's what I'm really coming to. Because I've already got the really like pretty sexy one with Bram Stoker's. So now I'm just like, I just want one where like there's no like it's just pure blood.
You know, Christopher Lee only had 16 lines in that movie.
You could fucking tell.
Yeah. Right?
Really? I didn't think so.
I thought there wasn't enough Christopher Lee.
And 5 of them were hissing.
Yeah.
Dude hisses really well. I love the whenever
Lee's a great hisser.
He's a great hisser. I love the scene towards the beginning where he's like, okay, I'm gonna leave now. And then the lady gets Jonathan out of the room and she's like begging for him to help. And then it like cuts, so like then oh shit, Dracula's over there. And then the camera cuts to him and he comes out of his little like hidden passageway and he's just like it's like man. It's like, okay, I know you're mad, but come on, bro.
Was anybody else really upset that whenever that little girl came in and was crying and like laying on her mom and shit, she didn't, whenever she went, I saw Aunt Lucy, didn't like immediately bite her in the neck? Bro, that would have been so good because they already did that. They did this. They did the bait and switch with the prisoner girl. Like, oh, man, I'd much rather see a little kid kill somebody.
I noticed on one of the reviews for the last Voyage of the Demeter, somebody said this was a missed opportunity. This would have slapped if it was directed by Robert Eggers. Which I don't think it would have, but it did make me think, remember that he's got the remake of Nosferatu coming out, which I am very excited for because I, as much as I can respect Nosferatu and as much as I love the aesthetic and look and like, it's absolutely fascinating that they made that movie in that time period, how they did and had it the guts that it took to make that creepy of a character in that era of time is mind-boggling.
Yeah.
I couldn't imagine what that would have been like to be in a theater and see that. Like, that's fucking nuts.
It had to have been terrifying for those people.
Horrifying. I mean, it had to have been. Yeah. I mean, I think whenever we were talking about the Universal monsters, we said the same thing about the original Dracula. Yeah. I think that it would have been a much more visceral reaction seeing Nosferatu. Because he's so much
thought
creepier.
About it, and I bet it's completely. It's two sides of the same coin, right? So you see Dracula, and from everything I've heard, the reaction to Dracula isn't pure terror. It's you're afraid because you dig it. Like it's like see that. You're into it. You realize that he could totally seduce you. You're fucked. Whereas seeing Nosferatu huge on a screen is just terrifying.
He's a legit
fucking
monster.
Scary.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm very interested to see how this remake goes. Just because I'm sure aesthetically Eggers is going to crush it.
That's the one thing. No matter how you feel about his movies, no matter how we feel about his movies, the one thing that is undeniable is he understands vibe and he understands aesthetic.
Oh, yeah.
Like
for sure.
Yeah.
He could make a movie where people don't do anything and it looks incredible. So
it's
is it weird that I wish he would do it as a silent movie? I know he won't because it wouldn't work.
No. I would.
But I would love
I'm honestly surprised that he's not.
Me too.
When I really think about it, I'm more surprised that he. Now that you mention it, I'm surprised that he's not, because that would be like I think he could nail it.
I think so.
I think so too. I just don't know if the studio would want that.
I'm 100% sure that. I think people would go see it.
I don't think any studio would back that.
That's the funny thing is that
sure.
I absolutely think that people would go see it based on that.
I think more people would go see it because of that.
Yeah,
it would be a big marketing.
But also, I totally understand why they're like, we can't do that.
Which I don't know. I haven't read anything about it being silent or not. I'm just saying. If it were,
I'm almost positive it's not. The only thing is, it sounds like I'm hating on the guy, but I'm not. Even though I recognize that I probably am. But
that was a roller coaster.
Justin, that's what's important is that you recognize it, and now you can work and improve yourself.
Not doing it.
You're not gonna do a fucking thing about it.
Skarsgård. Bill. It's Bill Skarsgård, right? I love that guy. Like, he was incredible as Pennywise. He's such a good fucking actor. But I no shame to the guy because the guy crushes anything that he's given. But I'm getting a little burnt out on the guy because I feel like after Pennywise, I think this is the first movie that he will be doing after Pennywise. Where
that's right.
It feels.
I was thinking that he's Nosferatu. I kept thinking that it was going to be fucking Willem Dafoe.
No, Willem Dafoe.
Yeah, Willem Dafoe played Nosferatu in Shadow of the Vampire.
Yeah, the one thing. Yeah. But because the teaser image of Dafoe that they released a couple months ago looks awesome. And he's
that's right. He is.
That's going to be awesome.
Right. So he's going to be. Van Helsing?
He is in it. I don't remember what his role is.
That'd be perfect.
Hope he is. But I think Bill Skarsgård. I think he's going to be really cool, and I know that he obviously does really well with transforming into these roles. But I don't know, the shot of the new Crow, and a couple other things that I've seen him in recently. It's I feel
the shot of the new Crow was my breaking point. That
and I don't blame him.
I don't blame him.
I mean, he's just
he's just a dude getting paid.
He's just the actor, and he's trying to do good work. And I don't fault the guy.
am the guy. I know that we're very lenient on reboots here. I don't care. I don't give a shit. Remake it. If you're gonna make a good movie, go ahead and remake it. That's fine. I have no problem.
Yeah.
The Crow is, I am not the only person that has said this. That is fucking 100%.
No, I know.
The Crow is so of its fucking time. You can't remake it now. I just don't see how you can accurately be faithful
it's a
to
weird
the
remake.
content.
Yeah.
It's just annoying. So like I share some of that, what you said. I don't get that upset about another remake. But I don't know. It is a lot right now. Right now it's a lot. I saw an article that my brother
hate a good remake. I am tired of Hollywood only fucking thinking that the only thing that they can do is remakes. Bro, there's so much good original content that's just begging to be made, and they're just not doing it.
And that is where I will say I really appreciate A24.
You know what?
I agree.
Because they're always going to put something out that is original. Well, I mean, it's unique.
It is
say
the
what you
Nosferatu.
Right.
Yeah, which is true. That is very true. That is very true. That's very true. But they do consistently put out things that are brand new. And they'll take chances.
And I think
who else is doing that?
The big thing for Nosferatu is they're taking a chance. Because like, what? What?
That's not existing franchise that
not quite,
people are itching for. It's not fucking Ghostbusters 10 or it's not Spider-Man 27 or whatever the fuck else they're doing this year. My brother sent me an article. I forget the number, but I want to say it's upwards of 60 or more movies coming out in 2024. Maybe it was higher than that number. I want to confirm this number, but it's either a sequel or a remake.
It's fucking absurd
of this year. It's all they're doing.
So crazy.
And I get it because it's low risk, right? Like you're not as a studio, you're not taking the chances on something new, and people will go because it's familiar.
Well, and what's funny is that I don't know if realistically, like actually it's low risk. I think it's actually higher risk because then you're fucking with shit that people have attachments to and all that shit.
But they're going to see
in response
just to check it.
Yeah, the reviews, you're risking bad reviews.
And that's,
you're not risking the box
part
office.
About it is that even just
they know people are going to hate watch it.
Going to hate watch it,
it
still reinforces their fucking stress. It's like, God damn it, man.
Yeah.
This is going from a podcast conversation to an actual upset James conversation.
Yeah. But anyway, like I really dig Bill Skarsgård. It's just I've seen him in so many things now where it seems like he's like nobody really knows how to utilize him. So
they didn't even know how to utilize him.
Nosferatu will be. Oh, God, that movie.
Well,
that was. I don't know what the fuck happened there. But I think he will do fantastic as Nosferatu.
Yeah, I'm sure.
It's like every time I see him now, I'm like, man, like it's like Pennywise was the start of everything.
If you can make,
and I feel like nobody really knows how to utilize
If you can
him.
make Pennywise scary, like actually not scary because he's a clown. Fucking because I love clowns. Clowns are not scary to me
they
at
don't
all.
bother me. No,
but
no.
In that first fucking he was fucking.
He was great.
Actually scary.
Yeah.
It's an awesome.
If you could
movie.
do that with Pennywise. You
one
could
of the
easily do it with fucking Nosferatu.
Yeah, it's an incredible fucking movie. Like I said, like you just said, I have no fucking clue what they were doing with part 2. That was
fucking up.
That was
what
what
they were doing.
Yeah, hardcore. But yeah, I don't. I'm stoked to see what they do with this Nosferatu remake. I think it'll be really, really good.
Yeah. Should we get into the Rotten Tomatoes shit here?
Let's do it.
Yeah.
All right, so I'll start with The Last Voyage of Demeter because I think that was the one we all watched first. Is that what I gathered?
Yes.
So 49% tomato meter, 75% audience score.
Fuck yeah!
And then
wow, I did not
that's awesome.
Letterbox 2.6. A little low in the letterbox.
Wow,
that makes sense. I can see that it's not cool enough.
Dude, I really thought people were going to trash that movie.
Well, they're trashing it a bit on Letterboxd. Well, I think Rotten Tomato Yeah, 75% is higher than I was expecting.
One comment, 5-star review, boats and foes. That's great.
So horror of Dracula, we got 91% tomato meter, 81% audience score, and a 3.6 on
I will say, up until Bram Stoker's Dracula, I think it's the best Dracula movie telling the Dracula story, the specific fucking same goddamn Dracula story that they tell in every motherfucking story, in every goddamn one of these.
Like,
well, they changed some things.
Well,
he's a librarian.
I think that they changed. I think that the things that they changed were actually really good. It's just the middle part where everybody keeps fucking talking instead of going and fighting Dracula.
Right. Yeah.
So Nosferatu, we got a 97% tomato meter and an 87% audience score and a 3.9 on Letterboxd. It's the highest of the three on all three.
I think that's entirely just based on like iconography. You know what I mean? Like it's just 100%. I mean, it's fucking Nosferatu.
Right. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Rightfully so.
I mean, that's the thing. If I had seen Nosferatu, not even in 1922, but like if I had seen Nosferatu first before anything else, I'd be fucking, my mind would be blown. But I just got, it's too hard to like take myself back to the 20s.
That's a good question. Like, or poses a good question. Like, what was my first exposure to Dracula? And
I'm sure it was a cartoon.
You know, I'm almost positive it would have been Monster Squad and Count Chocula.
Count Chocula, Count Chocula. Honestly, Count Chocula is probably my favorite.
And then Dracula and the Muppets.
Dracula and the Muppets, for sure. Yeah, you know what? No, it's the Count on Sesame Street. That's the first one.
That's what I'm thinking about.
100%.
Yeah. Count to Sesame Street. Those three, and then Bram Stoker's Dracula, because my mom took me to see it in theaters, and I was like fucking 7.
I think my my first vampire movie was I don't know. You know what? It probably was Dracula, but it was on VHS. I think I borrowed it from the library.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny how just we had exposure to all of those monsters through pop culture, I'm sure, way before any of its movies. And that's just being a product of the 80s
that's
and
another
90s.
Thing, like,
where they
we
everywhere.
instantly knew what a Dracula was. Because, like, in fucking Sesame Street. So, like, I can't go watch Nosferatu and be like, ooh.
Right.
I actually watched a video breakdown of this, definitely a younger guy, he must have been in his young 20s, that recently did on Nosferatu. And he said he was always familiar with Nosferatu because it's referenced in SpongeBob SquarePants.
Yeah.
Which I didn't know.
One of the Letterboxd reviews was, I only watched this to understand the SpongeBob reference.
Yeah. Yeah, because there's a clip of him in an episode, I guess, of him just like standing in the doorway.
I've seen it. Yeah,
which I don't know if we
should we watch SpongeBob next episode.
Find that episode.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, Monster Squad was one that for sure obviously exposed us to all of those.
You know what? Not me. I didn't see Monster Squad until Justin.
No.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know when it was. I know I saw it very young. I couldn't tell you when it was, but I just always had this fantasy of having a treehouse decked out in posters and just being with a bunch of
I always wanted that, and I never even saw the movie. I think that's
Then you see it, and it's just like that confirmation.
Exactly. It's like
that's what I want.
That's the one. Yeah. Because I remember doing that whenever I first watched it, because there was in my old neighborhood in Venice, Florida, not California, unfortunately. There was a lot that had been bought by an eye an optometrist, but it was like mainly forest. It was weird. And there was one tree that had a tree fort in the top of it still, but it was tall as fuck. Wow. And all of the lowest, like pretty high up, like probably like 20 feet in the air. All of the fucking rungs to it were down, and we were fucking kids, so we didn't have access to lumber. And then, so that was like, we'd always just like gather around it and be like, how the fuck are we going to get up there? How are we going to get up there? Oh, are you going to climb? And then like one of us would try to push the other one up, but like, it's way too far up. And then, so down the road from where I lived was the winter home of the Ringling Brothers Barnum and Bailey Circus. And when I was a kid, it was actually there. Like I went and saw it a bunch. I may have talked about this before, but eventually they stopped using it and they turned it into a roller rink. That's fun on its own. But next to it, there was like this, like, the only thing I can imagine is that hobos had made a fucking like, they'd like dug out through the trees and the bushes and stuff. Cause there was just like a big, like overgrown lot of trees and shit next to it. And there was a literal, like, you could walk into it like it was a fucking like crazy, like weird tree maze. Yeah. Good shit.
That's crazy. Dude, I was laughing while you were saying that because I was like, tell me you grew up in the late 80s and 90s without telling me that. Because
do you have a tree fort
I vividly
story?
Remember like not even the tree fort, just standing around with your friends and being like, how the fuck you get up that tree?
Yeah, not even a tree fort, just a tree.
Yeah. It's like, this tree's massive. How do you get
what's
up
the
there?
best way to go up this and hurt myself severely?
Yeah, I remember one time we climbed a gigantic tree, and I remember getting to the top and like having my head come out above the leaves, and I'm like, I should not be up here. And I'm like 7, and I'm like,
I feel like we're so lucky. I was a tree climbing motherfucker, and I never once fucking hurt myself doing that. I hurt myself riding a bike.
Yeah, no. All the time. Yeah, life before the internet.
Yeah.
That's a fun way to end an episode on Dracula.
Life before the internet.
There you go.
Right.
Yeah.
All right.
Cool.
All right.
Alrighty.
Okay. All right. And stop.